If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Long Shots, VSiN's premier golf betting podcast. Here's Matt Brown, Wes Reynolds, and Kelley Bydlon.
Hey, it is Long Shots, VSiN's golf betting podcast here on the VSiN Podcast Network. Matt Brown, Wes Reynolds, Kelley Bydlon coming to you for the Arnold Palmer. 72 of the best golfers in the world going to tee it up and go after that $20 million purse. We have 8 outrights between the three of us. Obviously, there's going to be fewer this week. There's only 72 golfers, so stick around. I got some placement bet stuff and some other little ways to attack all of this, so we shall see how it all plays out. Very quick recap of this past week. People were lingering. People were lurking. Tournament was there to go get to go and be gotten, and didn't end up getting home. I think the process was fine. Anytime you get a 64-1 in contention on a Sunday, I think it's fine. At the end of the day, a guy goes out, makes the cut on the number, and then goes 7 under on the weekend, and secures his card, gets all the major invites here. Is going to be all the elevated events and everything like that for the next couple of years. So, Wes, it was a tournament where, course played easier than we thought. There were 6 unders and 7 unders out there, 5 unders and stuff like that in the final round. It's just tough. The course, when the tournament plays out like that, it just kind of goes against our handicap a little bit, and it's just it's tough to win those.
First time in 9 years, by the way, a guy's made the cut on the number and ended up winning the thing. And Brant Snedeker, by the way, was the last time to do that. 2016 Farmers Insurance Open with a heavy weather bias draw, because I remember having Jimmy Walker in the lead, and then Brant Snedeker gets on the other 9 with no wind and shoots like a 63 in the final round and wins that thing. Of course, the winner this week, Joe Highsmith, who did not have a lot of form coming in, played well in the fall series last year, but triple-digit guy, tournament to forget for me. This was probably the first, I would call it really bad tournament for me. Mm-hmm. Even though I had Berger going into the weekend, but he was widely tipped in the market, just did nothing. So nobody really there for me. I feel I got the handicap wrong for me personally, because I didn't know if the course was going to play that much easier, that much harder. I didn't think it would be as easy as it was the previous year, and it was very easy. When a guy, Jake Knapp, shoots 59, had a look for eagle on 18 to shoot 58 on Thursday's opening round. Kind of a tough beat if you had Jake Knapp, though, because he was up there all week, and he doesn't get there and ends up finishing a very disappointing 6th. But, I miss the old PGA National. I miss when it was a little bit more challenging. And Joel Damon even said that. He's like, I miss the old PGA National on the X and on the Twitter machine. I'm like, so do I, because I don't have anybody with a chance here.
When you when you got to strip the shoe and the sock and pull the pant leg up, that's never any good for an outright ticket, that's for sure. And if you had a Jake Knapp ticket, I don't know many people that did, but if you did, I do feel bad for you out there. Yeah, kind of a tournament, kind of a bummer of a tournament for me as well. Lucas Glover doesn't make the cut, so I lose that head-to-head with Brian Harman. And typically, if you have a guy that, finishes T6, you probably think you've won the head-to-head. But Ben Griffin loses to J.J. Spawn, which I'm like, cool.
And Spawn
I'm glad I have a guy
really late. Yes.
Yeah, I'm really glad I have a guy that finishes in 6th place and I lose a head-to-head. So that was great. So Griffin goes down to Spawn. Really just it's like we say every week. I'll put in some sort of little placement stuff on most of the outright guys that I had. So Circa offered a decent price on a top 20 on Michael Kim. So it's about the only money I won this week, Kelley. Wasn't a good tournament for me.
I believe that was the only bet I won myself as well. It was I don't know. I think a tough one to figure out. I'm going to try not to linger on it too much, because I went heavier with more heavy with outrights last week than I usually do. I had my 4 we talked about on the show, and then you talked me into Michael Kim, Matt. He was right on the edge, so I did add him. We discussed that last week. And then the only other one I added after was Luke Clanton. Went and bet him. So I had 6 outrights. Everybody finished T25 or better. Berger was actually the guy that ended up being the worst out of the whole bunch. So from that aspect, it kind of makes you feel good about the process. But Wes, kind of going back to what you were saying, I mean, just handicapping this golf course was, yeah, we knew the winds looked like they were going to be light, but man, immediately hearing from these guys post, after first round and just about the overseeded fairways and, the agronomy, to give them some credit, I feel like most of the quotes was, this course is gorgeous and playing so perfect, and but what does that translate to? It's playing easier than what these guys are, have seen in years past. So
the rough was not nearly penal enough.
Yeah,
I know Billy Horschel and some other guys pointed that out.
So I
just had a bad handicap. I mean, it's just a bad, it was just the handicap didn't play out. The tournament played much easier than I thought, and that's not how I handicapped the tournament. And so I was just a giant whiff for me.
I think my last, just I'll try to air this off. It's a tournament that does mean to me a lot to me having covered it, and it's a shame because there was always indicators even 5, 6, 7 years ago that they'd look to try to make this easier, but for one purpose in mind. If we ever saw this course get easier, it was with the goal of getting all of these superstar freaking players that live within 20 minutes to get out of their damn beds and drive down to the tournament and actually play it. And if nobody's showing up, then what are we doing? Give us the old course that we all love to watch.
There was a better field, by the way. What is that? The Seminole Pro-Am?
Yeah.
On Monday this week. God, that was like a major championship field with a couple celebrities and a bunch of big businessmen that they always play that Monday, usually this week before this event at Bay Hill rather than the Players next week. But yeah, that Seminole field. And you're right, Kelley. That's why they want to make this easier, you would think, to get more players. But I just think you're stuck in the date. You're stuck being the first event in the Florida swing. And you've got the Players. When the Players was in May, it was easier, I think, to get players to play this event. And now it's not because it's right in front of a signature event at Bay Hill at the Arnold Palmer Invitational and then right in front of the Players. So this event really suffers from its date.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll put that one in the rear view. Hopefully we'll do better next year on that puppy. But on to the Arnold Palmer. As Wes said, it is at Bay Hill, just outside of Orlando. This is an elevated event going after $20 million prize pool here for this one. 72 players going to tee it up. And Wes, we got us one that's I'm very, very confident it's going to play much harder this week than it did last week. Long course, lots of long approaches, and some pretty bad rough out there.
Yeah, and it did receive some rain, so you may get some soft conditions. By the way, there is supposed to be some rain, I believe, on Sunday, and then they're getting it the night before we start on Wednesday night. So it might soften up early, and then it'll go firmer and faster as we go on. Who's going to win the red cardigan? I wish I would have had the foresight to purchase some kind of cheap red cardigan on Amazon in honor of Arnold Palmer, because the winner gets the red cardigan, so we'll settle for the red Indiana sweatshirt here. But yeah, Arnold Palmer Invitational. 72 players in this event here. So, this should play, you would think, a lot harder, even though Scotty Scheffler did shoot 15 under in victory. So when they've renovated it in recent years, look, Kurt Kitayama won at 9 under in 2023. Scotty Scheffler was 5 under when he first won this in 2022. DeChambeau 11. Tyrrell Hatton, I remember having that. Tyrrell Hatton 4 under par was the winning score here. So you would think high single digits or low double digits, 10 to 12 under here. I would not expect we're getting 19 under to win like we did last week at PGA National.
Yeah, Kelley, we take a look here at just kind of how this course, it seems like it's going to be, and so we're going to have some emphasis here on trying to keep it in the fairway a little bit, because the rough this week certainly will be much worse than we've seen the last few weeks. And you can just look at the stats historically here. These greens are big, but the greens and regulations percentage is still low, which lets you know how hard it is to actually hit these greens out of the rough and all the different stuff that's going on with these super long approaches and whatnot. So I am confident, Wes, like you said, high singles, low doubles, and if the weather happens to go squirrely on us, I mean, it could maybe be even worse than that.
It's I mean, look, it's tough to sit here and say We're recording on Tuesday night, and I want to say, hey, look at the Sunday weather and wind. Like, this is pretty gross over here with gusts in the 30s and 20 mile an hour sustained winds. Sunday we could be in for a fun final round. Thursday, though, I think is a little bit easier to actually look at and predict here, sitting less than 48 hours out. It's not going to be ideal. Friday and Saturday look like they're a little bit more calm. But the one good thing about Thursday, it doesn't look like there's going to be an extreme wave advantage there. It looks like everybody's going to be playing through it a little bit. Yeah, maybe a little tougher in the morning. But other than that, it shouldn't be too bad.
One of the things I want to see, though, is when it dries out after the early pre-tournament rain, how much faster these greens get. They roll at about 12.5 on the stem, but usually you get to the weekends and it gets firmer and faster. And these can get up to almost 14 on the stimp meter. That is super fast for these Bermuda greens. So it's not only, some of the forced layups off the tee, but it's also the fact that, the par threes are really long. Some of the par fours are really long, and the greens are relatively difficult, even though they're big. So you got to be a good lag putter this week. And you've got to be a little tidy around the green, depending on how it suits your game, because this used to be short grass around these greens, by the way, and now it's thicker stuff that they put in a couple years ago. So more on that later with one of my selections.
Guys, before we move on here, Arnold Palmer, the drink, Kelly. Yes, no, somewhere in between. What do you think about an Arnold Palmer?
Oh, I love a good Arnold Palmer.
Will you have it without booze in it?
Yeah. That is a non-alcoholic
Arizona
beverage.
iced teas.
Yeah, that is a non-alcoholic beverage I enjoy, Matt. Yes, I mean, throw a little vodka in there, and it doesn't hurt it, but
I actually think it elevates it a lot. So I mean, like the vodka to me, kind of like a necessity.
I hear you. But I'll say, I'm glad you brought it up, because I'll go it's iced tea's hard to power rank, but I'll go lemonade, iced tea, and then an Arnold Palmer's I like better than both, though. The combination brings out the best in both.
Wes, where do we sit on the Arnold Palmer?
Well, in order to truly pay homage to the king, I know you guys don't, but I do, you got to have a cigarette in your mouth like Arnold Palmer did in those days. Just swinging, great swing, one of the all-time greats, and it's like, hey, see, smoking is good for you. Or at least it was back in 1960 when he was the best player in the world.
I didn't know where Wes was going with that. I was like, I didn't know me and Matt were hating on Arnold Palmer every week or something.
I'll tell you this. I mean, I get out on the golf course, I'd rather have an Arnold Palmer with some vodka in it than everyone wants to buy transfusions these days out on the golf course. Y'all know what transfusion is with the grape juice and stuff. I don't get down as much with the transfusions.
I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Are these the seltzers you're talking about?
No. It's a drink. It's vodka and ginger beer maybe, and then grape juice or something. Or you can look it up as we're talking. Okay. It's transfusion. And
if it's hot enough out here and the cart girl brings it around, I'm drinking it.
Oh yeah, I'm not turning any down. If someone buys one for me, I am not turning it down.
I was like, what are you getting those the IVs, the hangover IVs on the golf course or something, Matt? You might be going a little far, dude.
Yeah, I mean it's again, they're super popular right now, and
vodka, ginger ale, Concord grape juice, and lime juice. It does sound
there you go.
Delightfly refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, but wouldn't you just rather have an Arnold Palmer with some vodka in it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's kind of where I sit with that. Guys, don't go anywhere. We are going to give you what we put in our models this week. We're going to give you the plays. Of course, like we said, we got 8 outrights between the three of us. Maybe we'll end up adding a couple here. But before we do that, there is an alternate event this week, Wes. The Puerto Rico Open that Joe Highsmith had to cancel his plane ticket because he thought he was heading down to Puerto Rico. And instead, off he goes over here to down the street to Bay Hill here, but you did a little bit of handicapping in this tournament.
Yeah, he was going to go down and try and get into the players, which the winner is going to get this week, by the way, alternate events, so no Masters invitation, but still a 2-year PGA Tour exemption in Puerto Rico. This is at the Grand Reserve Country Club in Rio Grande, just 40 miles northeast of San Juan. So this is traditionally the alternate event here. I believe who is defending champion? Bryce Garnett at 150 to 1. 1. He is in the field this year at 40-1. I think I've hit this maybe one time in the last several years. I've been doing this event. That was Brandon Grace in 2021. So you will see bombs in this event. Garnett was 150. Nico Echeverria was 125 2 years prior. Ryan Brame was 80-1. Martin Trainer, 125. D.A. Point, 175. So you will get some triple-digit guys in here. The shortest guy on the board this week, because it's hard to have a clear favorite in this hodgepodge field, was Niklas Norgard out of Denmark at 18-1, who won the British Masters on the DP World Tour, runner-up in the Soudal Open there in Belgium to earn his PGA Tour card. So top of the odds board, Ryan Gerard is 25-1.
Go to hell, Ryan Gerard.
Yeah, exactly.
Who got the lead. And then proceeded to bogey, then triple, then bogey. I'm like, this go to hell, Ryan Gerard.
I got a text from my buddy on Saturday, like, LFG Ryan Gerard. And I looked like 5 minutes later and he doubled. I was like, what the hell just happened?
Kevin Roy can go to hell too. I had him as well. Go to hell. Kevin Roy, he can go to hell.
He's the next on the board, by the way. Kevin Roy at 28-1, who leads the PGA Tour in total driving. Bud Cauley also there. Rasmus Niergaard Peterson at 30-1, 3-time winner on the Challenge Tour. Almost got his first DP World Tour victory 4 weeks ago in the Qatar Masters, but settled for a runner-up. So, when I look at this, it's a par 72, 7,500 yards. Wind can be a factor here, but the fairways and greens are very large. It is Paspalum, so you can compare it, I think, to the Corrales Punta Cana and Mexico Open and some of these events. Slow greens, too, 10.5 on the stimp meter. So I went with 6, and these are smaller than usual bets because this is a total crapshoot event, but it does matter. It does get you to your PGA Tour exemption. So I started with Chan Kim at 33-1, 8-time Japan Golf Tour winner, 2-time Korn Ferry winner, still looking for that first PGA Tour win. Could be a good spot. And I looked at how well guys putt on Paspalum, and he's first over the last 20 rounds on the surface for strokes gained putting, was 6th last year in the Dominican at the Corrales Punta Cana, was 8th in the Mexico Open last year, 17th 2 weeks ago at the Mexico Open, was 32nd last week at the Cognizant. So Chan Kim, 33-1. And then Rico Hoey, 35-1. You look at his numbers from last week, it's like, how the hell did this guy finish 25th? Well, when you lose about 7 strokes putting on that surface, that's going to hurt you, because he led the field last week in strokes gained tee to green there at PGA National and was 2nd for strokes gained ball striking. So maybe he goes well on this Paspalum. 2nd for strokes gained off the tee and 7th in total strokes gained in this field over the last 50 rounds. So Rico Hoey, 35-1. Ben Coles, 50-1. 6th here last year, 16th 2 years prior. 4-time winner on the Korn Ferry Tour, also top 10 on Paspalum. So he's played well in these Corrales Punta Canas and these Puerto Rico Opens here in the past. And then at 60-1, ADDC, that is Adrian Dumont Deschechart, who was 6th here last year and 3rd at the end of the year at the Bermuda Championship. Maybe he saw his fellow Belgian and Illinois golfer Thomas Dietrich, who played at the University of Illinois as well as ADDC did, and maybe that'll be a little motivation. Of course, Dietrich finally got on the board winning the Phoenix Open earlier this year. He's played mostly DP World Tour and Korn Ferry this year, Adrian, 8th in Qatar and 24th in Bahrain, both on Paspalum. So 60-1 there, and then a couple triple-digit guys. Danny Willett, 110-1, 2016 Masters champion, who now ranks 431st in the world because he had that shoulder surgery that missed most of 2023. Hadn't really gotten up in 2024 either. He's only made 4 of his last 13 cuts worldwide, but he's made 3 of his last 5. T9 at the Farmers Insurance Open. So I just took a shot on kind of a proven, known player that I think is grinding it out on the PGA Tour and the DP for a reason. He never took the live money. He said, I'm going to grind it out here, and, could have easily done that being a former Masters champion. Certainly there's some value to that name, but Danny Willett, 110-1. And then we're going to go with an amateur here. This guy, by the way, is already in the Masters. Most of this field, probably almost the entire field, not in the Masters. This guy's already in, the amateur Justin Hastings, 120-1. Won the Latin America Amateur Championship in Argentina in January, and that's how he got his invite to Augusta National. Plays for San Diego State, actually represents the Cayman Islands, so used to playing in this climate, in this area of the country. 13th 2 weeks ago at the Mexico Open. We know that is Paspalum and kind of a big type course, much like this course is at Grand Reserve. So Justin Hastings, 120-1.
Hey, Cayman Islands, if you're looking for anybody else to represent you in any other sort of way,
I know.
Give me a call. Shoot me
I'd be
a
like,
tweet or something.
I defect. I defect from America. I will be part of your 8-athlete delegation with the Cayman Islands at the next Summer Games.
Also, I would like to say, don't really go to hell, Ryan Gerard. I'm sure you're a nice fella. If you're ever in Vegas, I'll buy you a transfusion or whatever. Like, just come on, or whatever. Like, just I don't. We're joking. It's a joke. I
couldn't bet him at 25-1 though this week, even though he's got 3 finishes of 25th or better. In his last 3 starts, he was 11th here 2 years ago. But I don't know. He seemed popular this week because I think he played so well before that disaster that you described, Matt. But 25-1 in this field, no, thank you.
I think I'm gonna tail you on Rico and Chan Kim because we've all three, I think, seemingly bet those two at some point in the past 6 months. Yes. So at 30-ish to 1, I think I'm gonna tell you there, Wes. And then the other guy whose odds should definitely be longer, but he just shows up at these random alt events as one Matt Wallace. I feel like I had a meltdown about that like at some point last year on this podcast. But yeah, alternate event, always look Matt Wallace.
Won the Corrales in the Dominican Republic actually 2 years ago. So I almost considered Matt Wallace too. He's kind of in that middle range with like Chan Kim, Adam Schenk, Adam Svensson, Patrick Fishburne, Pearson Cootie, Rico, and Matt Wallace were kind of all in that 35 range this week.
He's done absolutely nothing this year to even to warrant 30-1's odds. Missed a cut. Let's see, Mexico Cognizant Classic, T44 at Phoenix, missed cut Farmers, T45 in Dubai. Like, none of it's been good. There's no way he should be at that same number as some of those other guys. But it's Matt Wallace. He shows up at the alt events.
There you go. Look at you. Well done, Kelley Bydlon. Now I'm going to have to throw 2 guys in just because I don't want to be left out next week. I'm going to have to talk to y'all about, like, I don't want y'all coming on and winning and me not winning.
How about that Rico Ho? He finally got home.
Oh my God, wouldn't that be the worst? I'm done with Mac Meisner, by the way. Mac Meisner's my Cam Young. He's done. I'm done.
I remember having Rico in the playoff there at the Barbasol last year when Harry Hall made that inexplicable chip in on the playoff hole to go ahead and win that event. So I got to get there with Rico. The guy's great off the tee. He's been close in a couple of these alternate events.
All right, back to Bay Hill, and as we sit here and we're going to tell you what we put in our model, we don't have to tell you who was number 1 in the model. You already know who was number 1 in the model. It is the number 1 player in the world. He is good at every single thing that I imagine we all put in. I went pretty heavy off the tee, guys, mainly because if you're going to be missing fairways as it is anyway, then I'd rather the guy just be further down there missing the fairway and have a shorter iron on the way in. And other thing about it is, typically, if you're pretty long off the tee, it also means you got pretty good club head speed, which means you're probably swinging the club pretty fast, which will help you get out of the rough as well. So I went off the tee, driving distance, total driving. I mean, I hit all of the categories here for that one. Of course, approach we know is always going to be important, and that always plays a role in these. But really super heavy off the tee model for me this week. But little bogey avoidance, a little bit of scrambling, a little bit of strokes gained on par 5s just to see if these guys can go out and maybe try to take advantage of these par 5s at all. And just that long iron stuff, right? 175 to 200, 200 plus, I think is where I'm at on this. Kelley, I don't know. How much did you emphasize the tee? Cause like I said, I did it pretty heavily, like probably more than
approach stats
than I have this year. And I mean, and for this tournament, certainly for this tournament, I have not done it for this one. I look back at some of the old models and then maybe as much off the tee as I have almost any tournament this year.
Okay. But more than approach stats though?
I think if you collectively added together like approach and then the 175 to 200 and then the 200 to 225 would probably be about equal to what if you added together the off the tee and then the driving distance and the total driving and all of that. So probably equal.
Yeah, I mean, everything you just named from ball striking stats is what I incorporated as well. I would say I'm a little heavier on the approach stats than the off the tee, but it's close. Both are very important. I think the only reason that it's probably not 50-50 or even off the tee being more important than approach is just with some of these holes these guys going to have to club down on. So it takes the driver out of the hands with some of the guys, but it's massively important. This is long. It's going to be long iron shots. So like we say this a lot. If you're looking at a guy that might be a little shorter off the tee, I'm not saying you can't bet him this week, but he better be able to hit those long iron shots well then. And like you said, ideally though, you want we're going to see these winds come through probably at some point. We're going to get these greens baked out a little bit. They're going to run a little faster. If you can bomb it further down, even if you're missing the damn fairway, give yourself a little higher lofted wedge going into these greens or lofted iron going into these greens, and they're not running out on you completely. That will help things. So that was the main buildup of my model. I actually went pretty damn heavy on par 5 scoring. It's as heavy as I can remember factoring it in is a long time. I just think that's going to be one of the major separators this week. You've got to score on those fives. And then Wes, you kind of brought it up earlier, but just to recap for everybody, I would say lightly then it was light mixes of scrambling, bogey avoidance, 3-putt avoidance, Bermuda putting for me. And I think that's everything.
Wes, did you go heavier in any specific area this week, or is it kind of a well-rounded model?
More well-rounded, but maybe a little bit heavier off the tee than on approach. Of course, did use approach. Proximity, you mentioned the buckets, Matt. Over 50% is going to be 175 and above, and about a third is going to be 200 yards or more. And by the way, 3 of the 4 par 3s. This might be the most difficult set of par 3s on the PGA Tour. 3 of them are over 200 yards. So, you can incorporate that in the proximity game too if you so are inclined. Total driving, I did mix in a little bit of total driving because we've seen longer hitters. We've seen Bryson and Rory, 2 of the longest hitters in the world, win here. But we've also seen Francesco Molinari win here and Tyrrell Hatton win here, who, you want to hit it as long as possible and as straight as possible. I know that sounds profound, but total driving, by the way, driving distance rank plus driving accuracy rank, if you've not heard of that category. Then did strokes gained off the tee. By the way, Scotty Scheffler was the leader in this field for strokes gained off the tee last year en route to his victory, so use that. Also, he was the leader for strokes gained around the green in his win here at Bay Hill, where he I think he won by 4 over Wyndham Clark, if memory serves me correctly, because I did have Clark. Back-to-back runner-ups to Scotty for Clark, by the way, last year at Bay Hill and also at the Players. Chipping's a little bit different now at Bay Hill with the grass being grown out surrounding the green, so players got to scramble to avoid bogeys. Plus, these are big greens, so you got to, like Kelley mentioned, the lag putting, I think, is a big factor. Small on birdie or better, just because it's lower than the average PGA Tour event, even though this is not what I would call a birdie fest by any stretch of the imagination. Scoring is difficult on the par 3s and the par 4s, so that means the par 5s, you got to card 4s, at least on those. And I don't think the par 5s are really that difficult as compared to the par 3s and par 4s here. From par 4 specific, 450 to 500 yards, half of the par 4s are in that range, so I did use that. Used a little bit of putting Bermuda, not a ton, but I think these are fast greens and they're going to get a little faster over the weekend. So I thought you at least look at it. Maybe don't model it huge, though, this week.
Can we hit on that real quick? I think we've brought this up before. Personally, this is how I handle putting stats. Like when we go to places where the greens are either really fast or really slow, and Wes, I think you've brought this up several times before. I think that's where I kind of de-emphasize some of the putting because it helps level out the field a little bit if it is just ultra fast or ultra slow. So yeah, I plugged it in a little bit, but I didn't go heavy with it either.
Yeah, and with putting, too, there are some places, we talk about some of the other sites that we use to kind of, commingle all these stats, whether it's, Rick Run Good or Fantasy National or BetSperts, and there's other good ones out there in the market. But I know some of these you can kind of trick around with the speed a little bit on these greens where it's like Velcro, which is like slow. Slow as molasses, like 10 on the stimp meter, maybe what they're going to get down in Puerto Rico this week. And then the lightning fast are like the 12.5s, 13s, and 14s on the stimp meter, which that's going to qualify this week at Bay Hill.
So as we go and look at the odds board, don't have to tell you, Scotty Scheffler's your favorite. Yeah, 3.5 to 1's the best you're going to find out there in the market for the widely available books across the country. 7.5, 8.5 is what we're kind of looking at there on Rory. It's very interesting. Xander, you can find Xander at 20 out there, 16 currently at DraftKings. There's 22s on Morikawa available as well. Ludwig getting a lot of love. You can see him sitting there at 16.
You know what, Matt? Let me hit the refresh on this. Actually, no, it hasn't really changed. Never mind.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled this up hours ago. There was one guy in this range that I was betting that the number kept getting shorter and shorter at every shop that I tried to go bet him on.
Yeah, Ludwig, obviously, I mean, sitting there after the way that he's performed and the pedigree that he's got, going to be one of the shorter shots here, as well as we kind of go down the board. And guys, we should mention there are 72 golfers in this field, but I'm not going to say anyone has a 0% chance of winning, but there's a handful of guys I'm not worried about at all. So really, whenever you start talking about like your outright bets and your placement market bets and things like that, I mean, we're not worried about Rafael Campos, and we're not worried about, I mean, the state of Max Homa's game right now. Nick Dunlap is in absolute shambles with the way he's playing. You know, the course doesn't fit Mackenzie Hughes at all. You know, there's like all these guys. So you're probably talking more like 60 guys as opposed to 72 guys. Yeah. So something else to kind of keep in mind as you're building your card.
Don't get caught up in the Matt Every winning back-to-back years here in 2014, 2015. Where, by the way, 300-1 he was to win that year. So you've had an outlier. And Kitayama a couple years ago was 200-1 and held off Cantlay and Spieth and McIlroy. But it's like, if one of those guys beats you, it's like, okay.
Yeah,
I'll live with it.
With Kitayama, at least we can point to him and say it's a hell of a ball striker, right? Like the guy's game,
and putted great. And was the first guy to really make a big putt late, and it kind of felt like, okay, the first guy to make a big putt late here is the one that's going to win, and it happened to be Kitayama because that was a hell of a tight leaderboard 2 years ago.
The Matt Everyone's just funny because he was like, what was he, like 60-1 the year before?
Yeah,
Wes? He comes back the defending champion and gets posted at 300-1 and goes out and wins it
and won
again.
back-to-back years after Tiger won back-to-back years where he was 8-1 and then 3-1.
Oh, that's great.
So now we've got Scotty near Tiger territory here in the odds. Scotty, by the way, won here last year at 6-1.
Hey, Matt, can we do this a little different this week and maybe just discuss the top of the board and how we handle each of these guys?
So that's what I was about to do.
It's like we've been doing shows together a while.
So here's the thing this week, and I really did consider this. I ended up not doing it. I really thought about just betting Scotty and Rory and walking away. Like, I mean, I really considered firing a bullet on Scotty and firing a bullet on Rory, and that's my whole tournament, and walking away from it because like every single thing about what we plug into this model just fits these guys so incredibly well. We know Rory is in form right now. Scotty is rounding into form after missing a couple of tournaments, coming back from injury. Speaking of coming back from injury, Xander coming back from injury here in this tournament as well. But Wes, you look across the board and all the stuff you put in the model, it's just Scotty's inside the top. I mean, he's just it's like this is built for him. I mean, like this is I know every course is built for him, but I mean, we're talking about a tough course that we think could play high single digits, maybe low double digits. Who else besides Rory and Scotty are you literally saying like, this is definitely for them? You know, it's just like the damn courses for these guys, you know?
No, and I agree. And Scotty's won 2 of the last 3 here. Rory McIlroy has obviously won here. And Rory, in fact, he has 8 finishes of 13th or better in 10 career starts. So even when he's played terrible, he's been like in the top 10. This is an interesting discussion because I did play one of these two gentlemen for an outright, which I never usually would at this low of a price. And Scotty, I think for all of us, he is the deserved favorite. Yes. However, did I think that Rory should be over 2 times the price of Scotty? Not necessarily. And that's why I thought plus 850 at BetMGM earlier today was a square number, and I did play Rory as a little bit of a saver here this week. No worse than 4th in 6 of his last 8 worldwide starts, won twice, DP World Tour Championship in Dubai, and then of course at Pebble Beach earlier this year. And the Pebble Beach was on POA. Now he's back on the Bermuda, where he's actually a lot better putter. He gains a little bit less than a half stroke a round over the course of 40 career rounds at Bay Hill. And I just looked at it, guys, the driver, how much we valued driving. I don't know if there's a better driver of the golf ball in the world when you combine the distance and accuracy than Rory. Number one off the tee, second for driving distance. Number one, by the way, is Aldrich Potgieter, where I'll be curious to see how he plays this week because he can hit it all over the place. He hits it a mile, but this ain't Mexico, buddy. Yeah. This is not Vedanta Vallarta where you've got those big old wide fairways, so I'll be interested, and he's already getting faded in the matchup market as an aside note. But, yeah, I thought Rory being over 2 times the price of Scotty I think Rory, his true price should be like 6-1 this week because he's been in very good form. Ended the year well, started the year well. And Scotty, look, I think he's going to figure it out, and maybe he does it this week, but he hasn't been his usual sharp self because of the surgery to remove the glass shards from the hand and all that. The approaches have been good. Hadn't been really driving the ball great, certainly as he did last year.
Kelley, now we go down the board just a little bit further and you start to see, Xander, Colin Morikawa, Justin Thomas, Ludwig, those are kind of the guys there in that next little tier.
Yeah.
Whenever we start to look, Cantlay getting a little bit of love this week as well after a decent showing. Ludwig already won. Obviously, we cashed that ticket. He fits the profile, right? Long and straight, off the tee. He fits the profile. He does everything that we're looking for. I think maybe the only reason people would say no is because, well, he can't win too, Like, well, yeah, he can. Sure you can. I don't know why you would not like Ludwig this week, I guess, when it all comes down to it.
Up and coming bulldog who's going to be right up there with the rest of these guys. Maybe not Scheffler, Rory. It might be a little much, yeah. But look, he's great. He's going to only get better. I'm with you. I had to pull the trigger on him this week. I did not get the best of the number because it was dropping even as I was trying to bet it this morning. I don't even know where he opened at, 18, 19, maybe something like that. But I was chasing numbers all morning. I went to go put a bet in, then odds would change on me. So I only got 1650 on him, but I bet it. It's my one and only outright. I think how I will be approaching this, Matt, is I should say in full transparency, the first bet I made on this tournament was I saw a plus 175 on Rory to top 5 when stuff opened up, and I was like, I'm betting that. Like, Rory finishes top 5 here like almost every year. So, look, I played outright on Ludwig. It's the only outright I ended up on. I played a top 5 on Rory. I played a top 5 just to kind of each way cover myself with Ludwig as well. But I'll be looking. We say it a lot. I'd probably say it too many times. But yes, Rory, Scotty, live. I think if there's a better opportunity presents itself, I would love to jump in on those two guys. It was hard for me to consider much else in the outright market down the board.
Yeah, it's interesting when it comes down to that, Wes. You started at Rory. How much further did you head down before you got to your next outright?
A little bit further. 30-1 actually is where I go next, and I'm going to keep doing it, man. This is a guy that's given me a lot of pain over the years. Not so much on the other side of the pond where he's done very well for me, but on the PGA Tour, we hadn't won yet. But Tommy Fleetwood at 30-1, looking for his first win anywhere, actually, since January of 2024 when he won in Dubai earlier in the year. But 4 top 6 finishes in his last 7 worldwide starts. Always has played pretty well here in Florida. Was 3rd here in this event in 2019. Was 3rd at Copperhead for the Valspar 2 years ago. Was 4th at PGA National in 2018. 3rd in 2020. 7th at the Players in 2018. Number 1 on strokes gained approach for the young season. So Tommy Fleetwood. And Tommy Fleetwood's been part of that TGL, playing for the LA Golf Club or whatever it's called for that one. So some of these guys, I think that they've had a lot of fun with it. And it's put them in good moods, and a lot of them, of course, are based there in Florida. So Tommy Fleetwood, 30-1, and then let's keep it.
Wes, I'll go ahead before you go on. I got there too. Boyd here in town opened him up at 35. When I decided I wasn't going to do just the Scotty Rory 2-bullet thing, Fleetwood, it was 4th and 3rd in 2 of the models. He was 5th in the other model from a different site. So again, different algorithm that's turning out the stuff. So basically the 2 different algorithms still telling me the same thing about Fleetwood. I understand. He's just going to kick me in the nuts when it's all said and done. He's going to get 3rd. You know what I'm saying? He's going to get like 4th or something. Like, he's not going to win. But when I decided I wasn't going to go Scotty and Rory, everything pointed to Fleetwood. 35-1 to me was just way too long. When he finishes fourth, I'll be like, well, that's why you should just bet a top five on him or whatever. But
honestly, Matt Brown betting an outright on Tommy Fleetwood is the most shocking thing that's been said on this podcast. I don't know
when I pivoted, right? Like I was pretty dead set. I was just going to bet Scotty and Rory, and then
I am stunned right now.
And then the way that things kind of came about, I was like, well, I think with where he's at in the model and all the boxes that he checks here, right? Just to kind of have to get there with that number at 35-1. Okay, Wes, let's keep going on your card.
Well, how about
real quick, guys?
Real
quick. I don't want to go pod play sounder on you, but yes, I did pretty heavy on a Tommy Fleetwood top 20. So I am with you guys in the sense that I really like Tommy Fleetwood's chances this week of being up the leaderboard.
All right, like.
I hope so. He's been due for a long time. But how about the guy next that nicked him in the major a few years ago at Royal Portrush, and that's Shane Lowry, who I think was higher than 50-1. Now he's probably like in the 45-ish range. He was widely backed in the market, of course, last week, but got off to a slow start. He was the guy I would say, hey, he's probably my one and done. Rallied over the weekend, though. He finished 11th, led the field on Saturday, actually, for strokes gained approach. Third here last year. And I think he's finally figured out Bay Hill. Shane Lowry, Fleetwood is probably similar to, even though I've seen Fleetwood win Birdie Fest over there on the DP World Tour certainly before, especially in the Middle East. But Shane Lowry, I think when the scoring is more difficult, that's where I think he's better. And we've seen that over the years at Portrush, at Firestone, when he won the Bridgestone several years ago. Bay Hill's going to be harder this week, and I think that benefits Shane Lowry. So Shane Lowry, let's call it about 45-1 in that range, because I think that's where he is now. And then when I played at 60, another European who's had success here before, hadn't been successful lately, though, to start this season, Victor Hovland. When I said more on that later in terms of a guy that struggles with his chipping, he likes this chipping better now. Like Rory and all these other guys that have kind of tidy short games, they hate it because they like chipping out of the short grass, but he likes punching out of the thick rough. He is bad on the short grass, and if you look, 2022, when Scotty ended up winning, I had Victor that year. He was runner-up, but it felt like he should have won that event and then just kind of gradually gave it away on Sunday and then was top 10 the following year. He was the third shortest price on the board here 1 year ago. And this was a signature event, by the way, last year, too. It was the first year that they had that designated as such. So he's drifted, and I understand why, but 60-1, I'm going to give it a shot. And then one guy who doesn't fit here, but I'm kind of on general principle alone going to include him. It was the most widely backed player last week, including by yours truly, including all three of us. I'm going to go Daniel Berger at 70-1. Was in contention, but stalled over the weekend, was 25th. Doesn't really have a lot of background here, but I said a few weeks ago right here on Long Shots I was going to bet him at every Florida event. So 2 for 2, and then I'll probably have him on the players card next week and then also on the Valspar, and maybe we end up going 0 for 4. But scrambled really well last week, 4th in the field. I think that's going to be important at Bay Hill because even though these greens are big, the greens and regulation rate is not very high. So you are going to have to, get up and down on several different occasions. And I think Berger's playing well. I'm willing to ignore that last round where he was kind of on the periphery of contention. He was like 3 or 4 back, but was on the first page of the leaderboard and had to kind of go for it and see if he could catch the guys, and didn't happen. He ends up shooting 1 over in the Sunday final round. But even though he's not the logical fit here, I'm willing to give Daniel Berger another shot.
I like it. I get it. I get it. He was shockingly high in a lot of the models that I ran. I understand that's pulling data from, before he got injured and all of that. But yeah, he was shockingly high.
My last 12-round model, he is a top. He's 5th in.
Yeah. I just 2 other outrights for me. I just stayed in this kind of like middling range. I'm like, if there's anyone who can go get Scotty or Rory. I played Justin Thomas and I played Xander. The price on Xander, and let me preface this. If you're in Nevada listening to this, or if you're in one of the states that has Circa, $24.50 on Xander, as to where he is much shorter than that everywhere else. So I would not play him at 16 or 18. That is available widely out there, but $24.50 was just enough for me to where, look, he felt comfortable enough to play the TGL, and like he's posting stuff on his social media of his swing and all of that. I mean, like, I think he's fine. He checks all the boxes. If he had been playing, there's no way in hell he's 2450, right? Yeah, and all that. So it's just a guy that has been able to challenge these dudes when he plays at his peak, And so I went and did that, and then I played Justin Thomas, another guy that just ranked out really well in the models for me. I didn't really get it, but you go in and you start to see, and it's just like
the irons have been incredible.
They've been great. They have been really, really good. I mean, in the last 24 rounds, he's second in this field in strokes gained approach. Like, you weighted strokes gained approach. He's first overall. He's actually done fairly well on bogey avoidance and all this stuff. Like, he just hasn't been making a ton of birdies because he can't putt. But
he's got 3 top 10 finishes this year already, too.
Yeah, it's just, I played Justin Thomas. I played 3 dudes that, when they play their very best, I think can go toe for toe with Scotty and Rory. Now, what is the win equity for Fleetwood and Xander and Justin Thomas? It's still going up against Scotty and Rory. So, I mean, I don't know, but they modeled out well for me. The prices were right on them, and that's kind of how I ended up playing it. So I went with 3 dudes taking on the 2 best golfers in the world, essentially.
So I will tell you, your strategy, I was getting very close to myself. JT, I left off just because, the one reason why I left him off, Matt, and look, maybe this is fine this week and he cruises because the approach numbers are incredible. And if we're saying the approach is most important, for me it was at least, most important thing I'm looking at, and especially in those proximity ranges, look, it's pretty much him and Fleetwood right at the top for when you're looking at those. So, he made a lot of sense. I just think the one thing that's been a little concerning that we've seen out of him this year, it's okay. The putting, it's always a concern, but okay, maybe it evens itself out this week. It's just been those few times with the driver when he's sprayed it. We've seen that a few times this year. That was my one concern. That was enough for me, Matt. That was like, you know what? This is a long number on JT, like you're talking about, of dudes that could actually go up and win this thing. I think he's one of them. So I got really close with it. I ended up staying away. And Xander, I don't know what to make. I've listened to a couple interviews with him, and it is very possible that you getting him at that price, right? I mean, he could go on and win this thing, and we could say you're never going to see that price again on tour this season. So if you're betting him at that price, I got no problem with anybody betting it. I just think a couple of the interviews I saw with him, man, it was kind of like mixed of like, yeah, like the golf's been okay, but it's like there hasn't been a ton of it. It sounded like so. Who knows? It's just form I wasn't willing to get. I wasn't willing to back, but it could very easily look like a great bet.
Yeah, and, again, we'll see. Just like I said, at 16, no, 18, no. 2450 was too much. Like 2450 is too much.
16, I'm not. You're getting him in the 20s. I'm completely fine with you betting him.
You pointed out a nice little bet that I did throw in the account. Scotty and Rory to both top 10 at 2-1. That's available at Caesars. Now the catch is they make it ties lose. That being said, if you go try to make that parlay of Scotty and Rory top 10 at every other book, it comes in at like plus 115. So I'll take the risk of the tie loss there on that to get the 2-1, where you're basically getting double the price on them to both top 10. And like I said, they're top 10ing out of about 60 golfers, not really 72, and so I'll hope I can get a third and a seventh, and I'm not even having to worry about like any ties out of these guys. So I did go ahead and throw that in the account. And one dude I dug in on checks most of the boxes, not all of them. This guy, Isaiah Salinda, I played a top 20 on him because you can get 4.5 to like 425, 435 to 1. I mean, 4 plus 435 on him on a top 20. But he hits it pretty far.
Yes.
He's got like 121 mile an hour club head speed. So like we're talking about trying to get through this rough, and like, if he happens to get in there, that's ridiculously high for a club head speed and all of that. And for me, a dude that I'm not asking to win, I just need him to get in the top 20. Really, he just needs to be able to putt it in the ocean. He is a horrific putter, like an absolutely horrific putter. And so, let's run hot for a week, right? Let's run hot for a week and go from there.
One guy I did consider, and he's the guy like Ludwig, when you guys were aboard him there at the Genesis, I was like, that's the guy that concerns me. And then, of course, he ends up beating me. Maybe history is going to repeat itself again. Patrick Cantlay, for some reason, who has not won in a long time, kind of worries me a little bit. He's not on my card, but I don't have him on. He was fourth here in 2023, but Cantlay is one of those players. He's not like Rory or Scotty or Xander, at least semi-regularly, or Matsuyama, those higher-end guys, Sun J.M. as well, that plays here every year. You know, he's here because it's a signature event. And that's what kind of scared me off of Patrick Cantlay this week, even though he went well here 2 years ago and he's certainly capable of winning anywhere. But, you know, you wonder about some of these guys that don't play this place regularly. Now, eventually maybe they figure it out, but I'm always going to lean, especially at a course like Bay Hill that's a classical course, I'm going to lean on experience a little bit more. So that's why I think that not only the form, but that's why Scotty and Rory are such bigger favorites over the rest of the field, because they've got the experience here. And you've got some kind of very short form lines on some of these guys that are in that, you know, second group here.
One of my biggest leaks, I think, in all of golf betting is Patrick Cantlay, because I don't like his punchable face, and I can't bet on him because I don't like his punchable face. And so it's just
I don't like that he
every
takes 20 minutes over a putt either, but
yeah, it's just like I look at him and then like I click on him like Kelley just did, and I see his face, and I go like, I'd rather punch his face than bet on his face. So I can't do it.
Absolutely thrilling on TGL. Absolutely thrilling.
Yeah,
those producers have to be pulling their hair out with a couple of those guys. Oh my God.
They're like, it's a good thing we got Billy Horschel on his team, because Horschel will at least show some personality, and so will JT.
Is Cameron Young the most surprising? Like, I didn't realize that Cameron Young had absolutely zero personality, or like didn't want to talk at all. Like you've got to talk, bro. You've got to talk if you're on this.
Because he's probably sad because he's been betting on himself like I've been betting on him and hasn't been winning. And watching this week, I know he's going to be on the first page of the leaderboard, and it's like, damn it, why didn't I bet Cameron Young? But I've gone down that hole a lot over the last couple of years.
You're good. Don't worry about it. You're good. That ain't getting home. There's no way that guy's getting home.
Oh,
I think the guy, if we're just saying that, I mean, like, obviously I skipped down to get to that little middle tier. I mean, I think Ludwig is the guy that's going to bring the most max pain to me if he wins, because
I'm loaded up on him. I hope he does,
fifth.
Matt. I hope you're
fifth.
in pain.
He's sixth in that one. He is, what is he in this one? He is fifth in that one. I mean, it's like, you know, so. And honestly, if his around the green stuff wasn't so miserable, he'd probably be third.
Yeah.
Like, he'd probably be right behind Scotty and Rory, but it's like his around the green stuff is so bad that's probably what's holding him back. But
I feel like, Wes, I mentioned like half of mine already. Matt, are you finished with your card?
Yeah, that's all I got, man.
Yeah, I'll just roll through mine quick, because again, the only outright I did bet was Ludwig. So Ludwig outright top 5, just to kind of each way that you know, our little cheap Vegas version of each way betting. To do that. And then Rory again. That was the first bet I made, was a Rory top 5. I know you might be sitting at home being like, well, why wouldn't you bet Rory outright too? I might add him at plus 850. The one I'm actually waiting on is because there seems to be a lot of Ludwig steam coming in right now. If, I don't know, maybe we see that get pushed out to 9-1 or something like that on Rory. I don't think there's any reason for me to rush to bet him right now, because at least today I've seen that Ludwig number just crashing pretty much everywhere. So that's okay. Outrights, top 5s, top 20s. I made 3 bets. We brought up Tommy Fleetwood already. You guys are betting him outrights and played a top 20 on him. Matt Brown, I am going right back to Michael Kim for a top 20.
Right.
This is not an event that you expect Michael Kim to show at or to show very high up on the leaderboard, but I will just go back to exactly what we talked about last week, and it all carried over. What he's doing right now across the board statistically is damn impressive. He is green everywhere. He's gaining strokes everywhere. Still finished T6 last week. I know we had higher hopes for him than that, but T6, T13 at Mexico, T13 at the Genesis, T2 at the WM Phoenix Open. He's just on a tear right now, man. Yes, he's played here twice. He missed a cut in 2019. He finished T17 in 2017. Yes, I realize that's 8 years ago. But I just, through my numbers, last 16 rounds, top 15 ball striking stats. He's first in bogey avoidance, first in scrambling. I'll take a chance with him in a top 20 that's over 2-1. And then One guy I've been kind of just sitting back and waiting on this year. This might not be the perfect course for him, but the long iron play is still very quality out of him. I played the top 20 on Akshay Bhatia. Saw him 9th in Mexico, T9 at the Genesis. I'm expecting a pretty big year out of him. And I don't know if he gets started here exactly, but I thought a top 20 play. I got him at plus 180, so you're getting close to 2-1 on that. I thought that was worth a play. One tournament matchup for me so far, I bet Sepp Straka over Bobby Mack, minus 106 on Straka, so he's actually the slight dog in that matchup. Sepp, another guy, just, man, the irons are just so dialed in right now. I wasn't going to go crazy on it, but I did have him rated out fairly higher than where Bobby Mack was coming in. And then a little top nationality market, just another way to bet Ludwig. I bet him top Nordic player over at Caesars at minus 140. So that only includes your guy's boy, Chris Ventura, and then Victor Hovland. So I'm basically betting minus 140 in a matchup against Hovland and I guess Ventura too. And that is my whole card for the week. Again, hopefully to add live on Rory Scotty. I might add Rory before the tournament here, but that is my whole card.
I love it, dude. Like you're just like, yeah, I'm heading back to this guy. Like I don't really.
I'll
care.
go right back to Ludwig, baby. You kidding me? Right back.
I can tell you if you're in a Bet365 market, they have a head-to-head up with Rory and Scotty, and Rory is plus 160 against Scotty, and like that's just mispriced to me. Yeah, he should be a dog for sure, but like not a 160.
The rest of the market is like 1.5 that I'm looking at the screen.
Yeah, so just
What
something if
is
you
it,
happen
Wes?
to live in that.
The rest of the market is like 125 or 130 tops that I'm seeing in terms versus Rory matchup market.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind if you happen to
160,
live in a
that's-
Bet365
wow.
market. Yeah, that's a bet I would make if I was in one. Unfortunately, I am not. Guys, if you haven't done so already, go ahead, subscribe, rate, review. Do appreciate all of that. If you're following us, if this is your first time over on YouTube, hey, how you doing? Go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. We do appreciate the support as well. Leave us some comments. Who do you like this week? Any bets that you think we missed? Any guys that you think that we are maybe being a little too bullish or a little too bearish on? Let us know. We'll certainly read those comments as well. Head to VSiN.com for Wes's article, $9.99 special right now if you want to try for 30 days.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.